what I like is that obviously people who you don't even live in London. We have like a lot of followers from New York and Paris, and so they don't actually get to see the gallery, but they can get a kind of virtual tour here. So we're really excited. I think I'll start because we've got 44 participants, which is just amazing. And then people will kind of be gradually let in as they join us. So I'm going to introduce myself. I'm Jemima Burrill and I'm the curator at Now Gallery. And it's just really great that we can be together tonight and be in each other's spaces and just, you know, we hope it's going to be a really interactive evening. We've got Magda and Ella and Kaya, who are the Now Gallery team. Hooray, thank goodness for them, otherwise I certainly wouldn't be here. And they're going to be taking questions, so if you feel like get on the chat and just, you know, pop some questions to them, that would be great. And they're also going to be sending some links, so links of really interesting design stuff this evening. So yeah, look out for that. I'm just hoping that we're all going to be good. I've got this fantastic new Ethernet cable, which I'm hoping is going to make sure that this actually works, because my poor yoga teacher ended up outside her house and she ended up standing outside her house, outside somebody else's house with a computer and trying to kind of, you know, get her yoga session going again. So I think it's going to be fine. I think we've got lots of familiar faces, and I just want to introduce you just to some wonderful installations and some thoughtful work by some brilliant designers. So make yourself comfortable. If you haven't got a glass of wine and you just want to go and get yourself a glass of wine now, that's great. And yeah, just be comfortable. So I've introduced myself as the curator at Now Gallery, but I'm also an artist. I'm an artist curator, and I went to the Royal College and Chelsea, and I suppose that kind of really cemented my love for art and performance. And I have an alter ego called Megaphone Woman, and I've been doing a lot of drawing of Megaphone Woman this kind of last 3 weeks. It's definitely kept me sane. But I actually really like making things happen. So being a curator at Now Gallery has given me that opportunity, that's for sure. And I've met some amazing people on the, so I've been there for 5 years now. So I've met some really interesting people. And what you don't know about Greenwich Peninsula, well, you may not know about Greenwich Peninsula, is it's this sort of amazing place that is surrounded by water. So it's a really lovely place to work, and I'm actually really missing not being there, but I think we're all in that situation slightly. This has become, you know, the place that I'm at right now. So our programme is made up, so Now Gallery programme is made up, well, it includes 3 exhibitions, 1 fashion, 1 art and 1 design. And we like to get an individual to come in and create something extraordinary in the gallery. It has to sort of fill the space. It's quite an unusual space. I'll show you in a minute, but it's 7 meters high and has sort of plate glass windows, and it looks rather like a fishbowl. So it's that quite an unorthodox space, and we like to get designers in to create something completely new and really specific for the gallery. I think that design is incredibly... Oh, someone said mute my phone. It's a very good point. Thank you. Thank you, I've muted my phone. I know, because I'm just getting so many calls about people who can't get into the... Anyway, so design is really important to me. It makes my life better. I've got here a David Mellor spoon. I mean, not as just, you know, it's a beautiful object, and a Studio Morison cup with a bit of water in case I get, you know, whatever it is, tongue-tied. And my sort of favourite object actually in the whole house is this Eileen Gray table, which you can't see, but is, you know, a unique piece of furniture, and I love it. So we're going to talk about design, and we're going to talk about the cross between art and design, and how good design really can become art, and how design sort of can cross into the art world. And I'm going to show you 3 designers who I think really do this initially. So I thought I'd just let you know what the evening is going to be about. So you can sit back comfortably and just enjoy it. This evening is going to start with the 3 designers who really inspire me. And then we're going to contextualize Emmanuelle Moureaux's exhibition with 5 exhibitions that have preceded her. And I just think that'll give you an idea of kind of where we've come from. And then lastly, we'll talk about Emmanuelle, which I know you'll be gagging for, but we're going to wait for it, you know, you have to wait till the end for that. But please do ask questions. There's the chat button there. Get on your chat and ask questions if you'd like to. So I'm going to share my screen now. I need some thumbs up from people, please, if you can see my screen, because this is the first one of these we've done, so it's kind of nerve-wracking. So please let me know. Here's my screen. And here are my slides, she says. Here you go. Right, can everybody see that? Can I have some thumbs up, please? We've got 50 people tonight. Thank you very much, everybody, for coming. This is going to be a treat. You're going to have it's going to be like living room porn or something like that. Anyway, it's going to be design deliciousness. So here is our gallery. For those who haven't been, it's just magical, because it's just a space and we make miraculous things happen in this space. So it's really great that I can show you. And this is Camille Walala, who we'll come on to later. So that's her exhibition there. So the first designer I'm going to show you is Hella Jungerius, and I actually can't say her second name, so I'm not going to say that again, who is a designer who works both with sort of objects like this chair here, which I love. It's a UN lounger chair. Can you imagine in the UN having those wheels on them and kind of, you know, scooting around the UN on their lounger chairs? And also she does sort of bigger installations like this breathing colour at the Design Museum, which if you didn't see, it was just beautiful. It had 3 rooms with colour in, basically colour in the same colour, but that you could see in 3 different lights. So one was morning, one was midday, and one was evening. And the light changed in different circumstances. So you could walk through the spaces and see how light changes and how colour changes light, basically. So I think that she's a very interesting woman. She says that she considers herself to be an industrial designer, and she believes that industry needs sort of craft. So she's sort of very hands-on, very interested in colour. And she said, why make new stuff every year? I don't believe we have to have more stuff. And I think kind of we all feel like that right now. Do we need new stuff? We don't need new stuff. And she's just designed colours for the Eames Alieu chair, which if you don't know, it's a beautiful Eames chair. And she's designed a whole new sort of scheme of colours for this chair. And they are just beautiful, beautiful colours. And I think that design can sometimes appear slick in some way. And we don't think of it as slick. We don't think of it as a sort of piece of machinery or a sort of just one object. We see it as a prototype that can actually fill our gallery. So I'm going to go on now to Raw Edges. Now, Raw Edges we commissioned to make a piece. We'll make a seating for, it's on the right here. It's a seating for Peninsula Square, and it's just a great invention. It makes that space, it makes people dwell, it makes people can kind of walk on it, they can climb on it, they can sit together on it. It's brilliantly designed, so the seats, you can actually fit 2 people in the seats, which just works wonderfully. And it's funny because they do a lot of colour, but the seating was white, and it was very elegant. It was very elegant, but also very practical, really practical, and made out of cement, and just a beautiful thing. And on the left here is Herringbone, which is a piece that they did, which what I loved about it was really experimental. They basically took bits of wood and dipped them into pots of pigment at a 45-degree angle, and kind of came up with this sort of herringbone design, which what I liked about it was it sort of their practice is experimental. I really feel that they push their practice by not knowing exactly what's going to turn out. Because I think in design, so often you could just do a little diagram, you know, send it off somewhere, and miraculously it appears. And Raw Edges don't do that. They do something quite different. I'm going to have a sip of my, I've got water and whiskey. So if it gets bad, I've got the whiskey to rely on. It's very weird doing a talk where you have absolutely no feedback. So I'm hoping that there's going to be lots of chat. Please put some chat, because otherwise I feel like I'm doing it to my telly or my cat or my kids who aren't interested. So please do give us some feedback. That would be lovely. Faye Toogood. I don't know if anybody, this is Somerset House, but I don't know if anybody went to the V&A exhibition that she did. You got to wear these fantastic foam coats and you got to walk around the V&A. And I think she's a really interesting designer because she's an interior designer, but she also makes objects, as you can see. She makes objects, she makes clothes, but she also makes a kind of whole interior. So when you walk into her space, you sort of get a Faye Toogood experience. And I think she's a very interesting designer in that way of crossing over from, you know, fashion to design, which works really well. Now we are on to our exhibitions, and this is Simon Heijdens. So I'm going to get you kind of to have a look at this, because it's quite slow. She says, have I actually made it play? I probably haven't. No, sorry, I haven't. Okay, there you go. I was thinking it's really slow. My goodness, it's slow, but actually it just hadn't begun. So here you go. Yeah, when I saw Simon's work, I just was completely struck by it. It's really imaginative and really sensual, and it uses technology in a really interesting way, and it's playful. So I saw this, which was light weeds, but I also saw at, for Perrier Jouet, that's a really noisy cat in the background. I'm sorry, it's not a baby, it's my cat. And don't ever get a pedigree cat. She's a Burmese and she's just really noisy. I'm really sorry. We'll try and get rid of her, but I don't think I can. I did try locking her up, but it just didn't happen. So light weeds, a really extraordinary piece of work by Simon even, and he also made these amazing sort of 9 vessels which had water in, and of liquid in, and this sort of pink drawing happened on the in the water. It was absolutely amazing for Perrier Jouet. So I think he was someone who I thought could do something really interesting for Now Gallery. And at that time, the exhibition was going to be during the winter. So I wanted something on the outside of the building that was going to be really interesting and unusual, I think I was looking for. So what he made, oops, wrong thing, next thing, sorry. What he made was this. So he made this for the gallery, and it's called Shade. And it was a sort of magical dance of light. He wrapped the whole of the outside of the building in this material that reacted to the wind. And it was, in a way, quite simple, but also incredibly effective. There's me, that's me, I'm waving, there you go. And it was the first exhibition we had, and the light just came into the gallery and just, it changed every day. It changed, you know, depending on the weather. And it was quite unusual. And one of the things I would say about it is that the wind, we do get people to try and tie their installation in. So the designers we asked to tie their installation in with something about Greenwich Peninsula. And Simone decided to do wind. But Greenwich Peninsula is a really interesting place because it not only has this, you know, basically if you walk to the Thames Barrier, you can almost, I'm just going to turn this off now. If you walk to the Thames Barrier, you can almost smell the sea. And Greenwich Peninsula has a special history of industrialisation, and it has a sort of movement of boats that go around it, and also the cable car. So we found that it works really well for the designers to kind of tap into what Greenwich Peninsula really is. So next we have, not that, we've got Alex Chinneck. Now, who's come across Alex Chinneck? He does fantastic buildings with zips on them. I don't know if you've ever seen them. They are totally great. And this, he does sort of small and large, which I think is interesting. He does sort of small things like this twisted fire extinguisher, which is sort of knotted. But he also did the same thing with a grandfather clock, which looked extraordinary, and also with chimneys. And he does sort of large scale things like this, which was a pylon, which came out of this. It looks like sort of Zeus sort of threw it onto Greenwich Peninsula. It really was a kind of amazing feat, and it's still there. And it came to us sort of for London Design Festival, and we've actually lit it up, and it's now bright blue in love and affection for the NHS, who, as we all know, need as much love and affection and courage, power as they can possibly get. So our pylon is a big symbol to them. So yeah, we're pleased that it's still there. And Alex Chinneck also did this piece in the gallery. And again, quite different from Simon's piece. I'm going to have to kill the cat. Michael, can you come and get the cat, please? I don't know what I'm going to do with the cat. Oh, sorry, everybody. I'm really sorry. I'm just going to have to deal with the cat. So this is, I'm not sure I'm going to be able to deal with the cat. Michael, can you come and get the cat, please? He's not listening. Okay. So the joys of being at home. So here we have this amazing piece by Alex Chinneck, and it was rather like a ship in a bottle. When you walked in, you could kind of hardly believe it got in there, and it was sort of it was almost like a sort of creature that had been wrapped up. Thank you very much. She's driving me nuts. So it's sort of like a creature that had been kind of curled up and put into the gallery, and it sort of astounded people. And it was also, I think the thing about Alex is that he has a sort of humour which is great, and he also sort of provokes awe, I think, in viewers. So it was great to have him. So I'm going on now. Now, the People's Brick Company by Something and Sons, I have a total soft spot for. This was such a great exhibition. I particularly loved it. As you can see, it was really messy. It looks kind of pristine here, but it was incredibly messy. This is some clay, and people made bricks, and there was a beautiful mold that said the People's Brick Company, and people would just come in and make bricks. I think the thing we felt with both Simon's and with Alex's exhibition, that although they were really lovely and they worked incredibly well, the issue with them was that they didn't necessarily, there wasn't sort of something for people to do, and we felt like we wanted to do something interactive, and Something and Son came up with this idea. And it was over the summer, and people just came in with their kids and enjoyed doing something that they'd never done before. And I actually can't remember how many bricks we ended up having, but it was a lot of bricks. And we did this massive kiln, which then all the bricks were baked in. And it was just a really community feel. It was inventive. It was messy, as I said, and it was just a sort of bit gritty. So yeah, it was a lovely exhibition and very different from the others. So next, and Alexa's saying, who would I like to play next? That's really scary. So Camille Walala. Everybody loves Camille. I mean, how can you not? I mean, she's just the best. My colleague and co-creator, Kaya Charles, brought Camille Walala into the Now Gallery fold. And oh, I haven't gone on to the next page. I'm going to go on to the next page, so I got it. And she turned up. So we always get three designers to pitch. They present an idea and we choose the best one, or we choose the best one. You choose the one that's right for now. We choose the one that works within the budget. We choose the one that seems sort of the most appropriate. But this was really zeitgeist. This was kind of before Camille was doing large commissions, and it really was it was a really good moment to have her in the gallery. And she turned up with this little maze. It was about this big, and she put that little maze into the gallery. It was literally like she transposed one thing and put it into the gallery bigger. And her partner Julia, most amazing women around, you are fantastic. They painted it all. They painted the whole lot, and then they put the vinyl on, and it just captures people's imaginations. And we had an amazing summer. It was incredibly successful. It worked brilliantly, and people came in, and I mean, this is actually during the private view, which was rammed. And we had this thing which was, it was spot the difference. So there were kind of various anomalies around the exhibition so that you could come and find them, which again sort of meant there was some linger time, because I think we'd learnt by then that, you know, you need to have kind of little things that make people stay in the gallery or think a little bit. So that worked really well with Camille. So we're going on now to Studio Morison. Is everybody okay out there? I actually have no idea if anybody's feeding back. Is everybody okay out there? I'm going to have a drink of water. Does anybody need a toilet break or anything? Are you okay? Jolly good. Okay, we're on to Studio Morison. So we've got this one, and then we've got what you're waiting for, Camille. I mean, not Camille. We've got Emmanuelle Moureaux. So that's really exciting. So Studio Morison. Studio Morison, totally another of my favourites. I mean, I've got to say they're all my favourites because all of the exhibitions are so different. That's what works so well about them. And Studio Morison's work, I think, is kind of genius. They sort of do big things like this. Look, 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 look. And so they do sort of crazy, quirky dwellings and sort of raucous dinners with sort of people coming together and eating sort of extraordinary food. And they do balloons and kites and sort of really, really interesting work. I think they're great. And they also do very beautiful objects. I got one. So, and in fact, this vase, I don't know if she's out there, but I gave that to one of my besties for her 50th birthday, one just like that, because I think they are really beautiful. So again, it's that scale thing, rather like Alex Chinneck, you know, the kind of big things, and then there's, you know, the small things that, again, so these all can be bought from there, and which I'm hoping maybe a link's gone out to, but from their website, general. I should know, but anyway, I know that something good will be coming out to tell you where you can get their stuff from. So this is their exhibition. I mean, look at that carpet. Oh, I just love that carpet. It was made in Scotland. It was the fluffiest carpet you've ever, I mean, there was just like pink fluff just ended up everywhere. It was extraordinary, but it was heaven. And that's the pickle. This is what we called the pickle, and the pickle was tethered to this extraordinary helium balloon that just hovered. And this, these stools then went on to be part of a picnic bench, which is on Greenwich Peninsula and has this extraordinary view of the Thames Barrier. So I just, when you can get out and about and you can go for a lovely walk, you have to go along the tide at Greenwich Peninsula, and then you have to walk along and you have to go and have a picnic at Studio Morison's bench, because it is exquisite. And these, I have to say, these were great, but they were made out of coconuts, and the coconuts still had stuff in them, and they went off and they smelt. But yeah, I probably shouldn't have said that, but okay, never mind, no one's going to hear. So, and on the over here, I'm not sure if you can see the books. So you've got this incredible library. So this space you came into, and it was so calm, and you could come and read a book, and their library was just beautiful, because it was a collection of curated books which were written by adults, well, by adult writers who don't normally write for children, but books like, I don't know if you know that Virginia Woolf wrote a book called The Widow and the Parrot, and Ursula Gwynn has written books for children, and Margaret Atwood has written a book for children. So it was sort of quirky children's books. And there was one moment I remember when there was this guy who came into the gallery, and he was kind of quite sort of uptight, a little bit uncomfortable. He came in with his son. I just remember looking at him, and he was just sort of slightly, you know, what am I doing in an art gallery? And his son went over and got a book and brought it back to him. And the guy's face kind of completely lit up, and he said, "Oh, I haven't seen this book for, 20 years." And they sat on that little crook just there, the two of them, and for about half an hour, and he read the child this book. And it was just, yeah, that kind of stuff just really makes me so happy. Yeah. So here she is, the fantastic Emmanuelle Moureaux. Now, she wrote to me and told me what I was allowed to say, because she is totally fantastic, but I'm not allowed to reveal all. So I will give you a little glimpse. So this is her Forest of Numbers, and also a beautiful building that she designed. And I'm going to confess that I actually saw her work on Instagram, and I remember just seeing it. I thought. Yeah, her work it's detailed, it's colourful, it's intense, it's showy, but at the same time, it's kind of simple. And she has sort of sculpture that are complex, but they're also they have a certain ease about them, and people do love to be in them. So this is her concept, which was just almost what we got, and we were a little bit nervous. I've got to be straight about this, because we've only worked with one other person from abroad, and Emmanuelle, she's from France, and she arrived in Tokyo in 1996, and she just fell in love with the city, and she found the colours completely fascinating, and she just sort of took the colours and ran with them. And for us, she came up with the idea of this piece. And it wasn't just the colours, because the 100 colours that she created are extraordinary, but it was also that she connected this piece back to Greenwich Peninsula. She connected it to the meridian, and she made a piece that, so this represents the past, and this represents the present, and then all of this represents the future. So the numbers went from present day to right through into the future. So it kind of landed on our desks almost as is. We obviously had to get, for the gallery, an extraordinary structure to hang it from, but she had a very clear vision, and I think that's what struck us. Is even though we could only have meetings with her at 9 in the morning. That was the only time we could have meetings with her, because of the two time zones meeting up. But she was incredibly clear about what she was going to give us, and she did. So here it is. Oh no, this is not it yet. Sorry, this is installing. So installing was complicated. It was finicky, and it was time consuming. And Emmanuelle she had all the numbers attached to fishing line. And she did that in Japan, and then they were folded up and put in a huge cardboard box and arrived with us. So incredibly sort of specific. And I asked her, how long did it take for all those numbers? There are 168,000 numbers in this installation. I mean, it's extraordinary. So I asked her, how long did it take for people to be pinning them on in Japan? And she didn't tell me. I don't know, but I can tell you by her hand signs, it was a long time. So these numbers came over to us, and then we put them up. And again, it's a secret. I'm not going to be able to tell you exactly how she did it, because it's what she does, and she does it with great style and precision. But it took us 13 technicians, 13 days, with 3 scissor lifts going up and down and up and down and up and down, and a huge amount of patience to do it. It was a labour of love, but we had an amazing team. And my daughter was in hospital at the time. Oh, I realised that. Right, sorry everybody. Sorry about that. That my daughter was in hospital at the time, and she, just coming in to see this mesmerising process of the installation, was just the most sort of elegant therapy. It was really, it was extraordinary. And Emmanuelle flew out of London. She sort of come into London and help us, and then go back to Tokyo, and then come in again. And she left with us Manami and Satoshi, who, this is Satoshi here, and Emmanuelle's over here. And Satoshi and Manami were the most dedicated individuals who helped us with the installing. It was a dedicated crew, and I was so impressed by these guys, because I don't think they actually got to see much of London at all, because they were so hardworking. And it was almost like watching sort of spiders sort of make fine webs with such care and precision. So they were great. Ta-da! How about that? Yes, I mean, what can I say? It's just a completely awesome piece of work, and it's sort of fascinating, because the way you've got the kind of the strands of fishing wire coming down, that actually when you come into the gallery you hardly see. So it's sort of magical. It's like it's sort of sitting in the gallery space. And people have been so struck by it. I have to say that, we had in March, we had 1,000 people into the gallery in one day. It's captured people's imagination. They've really loved Instagramming themselves with it. But I think it's more than that. I think there's something about the piece that you have the chaos of it. You have this sort of chaoticness, but also if you move around it, you have a real sense of precision and a real sense of structure. So it has those two things working for it. You can see the kind of perfect straight lines and the sort of suspended simplicity within a kind of complex pattern. But actually more than that, it kind of moves you, because you maybe can't, you can't understand how it possibly got to be there. So we have, this was our private view, and we think private views are important, and we do events called Now Laters. This would have been a Now Later in the gallery. And they're really important to us, because they're about getting a conversation going about other disciplines. We really mix it up. It's about collaboration. We get musicians in, we get DJs in, we get hula hoopers in, we get acrobats, we get different people to come in and kind of react to the art that we have. And this is Reiki Singe, who the Claude Ensemble brought in, and she was a violinist that played, so she played every 30 minutes for 5 minutes, and it just added something completely different to the evening, because they were told that when the music's on, you stop talking, so that people stopped and listened and just had an opportunity to look at the exhibition and really take it on board. And we think it really worked well in terms of just giving something different and mixing it up a bit. So yes, it was a really lovely evening. So now we have the interactive bit of this exhibition. So we had a slice of time timeline, which went from, I can't remember where it went from. Ella will remind me later on. But anyway, it went from 1900 to 2000, I think. And people could come in and write a special date, or a date that was important to them, on a piece of paper and stick it on the timeline. And again, for us, it's that point of having something for people to do, to have a think, to think about what a significant date is. It tied back with the exhibition, which was basically all about dates. You'll see in a minute when we show you the film, the kind of the amazingness of the dates part of this exhibition. But this worked really well, and the wall and basically the windows were just completely covered. And we had to keep taking them down again because they just get completely covered. But yeah, it was a lovely part of the exhibition. So we're nearing the end. Just thought I'd show you some press. We got a lot of press. I mean, this Telegraph piece, it's huge. I mean, we got a lot of press, but I think the thing about it was, the interesting thing is we got a lot of press and we got a lot of people, but I think the interesting thing was that when we did a sort of, we just checked to see, why people were coming in. And generally people were just walking past and were completely fascinated and came in. That's why people came into the gallery. Press is very important to us for sure, but it's just interesting. It was such a sort of striking piece that people just wanted to come in and check it out. So lastly, before questions, I just wanted to show you this film, which I think hopefully it'll give you a really good sense about the piece. I think that I'm hoping that some of you kind of will have some questions, so that will be good. And I think just also to think about Emmanuelle's piece, the thing that kind of intrigued me about it was that I felt that at a time when we were kind of all in Brexit hell, and everything seemed to be chaotic, that Emmanuelle's piece for me, it just was kind of very pure and very colourful, 100 colours and 168,000 numbers. And it was just very peaceful and very beautiful in this kind of mire of kind of political hell that we were going through. So I'm very much hoping that, when we open again, you'll have a chance to see it. But what we do have is a scan of it, so that you can go into our website and you can go to the scan and you can actually walk, you can go around the piece yourself. So please do visit our website and you'll be able to do that. It's terrible. I have really enjoyed talking to you. It's been really good. We're going to do some more, but it's been a total treat for me. I can actually talk to someone rather than my cat. I'm going to put this film on, and then I'm going to go and get another drink, and then we'll have questions. Right, here's the film. have we got any questions, ladies?
Yes.
So I've got Kaya, Magda and Ella here. I think we're starting off with Kaya. Give us a question, not too difficult, please.
Well, I think we've gotten some really interesting questions. Firstly, from Sonnet Stanfield. How have the expectations how have expectations changed over the years from our funders as we've kind of grown? How has expectations changed?
I think that's a really good question. However, I think that when we started off, we didn't know whether anybody would come to the gallery. We didn't know whether we'd have any success with our program. And I think that what has happened is that gradually we have built up a collection of people who come, and people come to, I think the interesting is because we do art exhibitions and design exhibitions and fashion exhibitions and photography, we are, we're accumulating a really interesting bunch of people who come to the shows. How our funding has changed, I think our funding hasn't necessarily changed, but I think expectations of our gallery and our program has changed. So I think for a curator, and I don't know if Kaya thinks this too, we certainly have to up our ante. So, we have a successful show, and then it's like, how is the next show going to be successful? And also, I think for me, I think the thing I find kind of hard is that, we're living in an Instagram world, and does that mean that your gallery has to be Instagrammable? Does it mean that the piece you're putting in the gallery, people have to, be able to come in and it probably does, but I don't want that to motivate the choices that we make in the gallery. And actually, I even think with Emmanuelle, I had no idea how successful it would be. I think Sonnet, not really to answer your question at all, but I think that expectation is the key thing that's changed for us. Is that the more you do, the more people want.
But I think just to add to that obviously I think the core goals are the same, that we keep the space kind of free and accessible. I think that won't change, and we're very committed to that. And also I think with this kind of new environment that we're in, and the kind of crisis that we're facing as well, I think there is an expectation, which I think we're jumping to kind of look at different ways of presenting shows. So I think that's also an expectation, but it's quite interesting to try new things in different ways.
I think that Kaya's put her, she's absolutely right. And it's something that we've discussed, that also, if you don't, I think the other expectation is that you have to be able to document your expectations in a way that you didn't before. I mean, I'm so happy that we got Carlos in to make the film when we did, because if we didn't have that, we wouldn't have that, and we'd have a piece of really beautiful, we have this beautiful installation that people can't see. So I think that in terms of, I think everybody will be in a situation where you're going to have to document your shows in a different way in case this happens, so that you can show people in another way.
And then our second question actually leads on really nicely from that. It's from Laura Cottam, and it's asking about the role of Instagram in art, and also how it benefits artists who as a direct form to sell. So what do we think about Instagram's role in our kind of landscape?
Well, I think, Laura, thanks for that question. I think that there is a real interest. I mean, there's an incredible interest in Instagram, and I think it's small and big. I think that I'm hoping after I've spoken, maybe Kaya can speak a little bit about Sarah Shakil. I mean, I think that I found a French artist working in Japan through Instagram, and that wouldn't have happened if I hadn't have had that. I don't think I would have found her otherwise. So it just sort of shows that it's such an interesting platform. I'm interested, I think, as maybe, which is what you were interested. I think that it's exactly that. I think that right now, I mean, for me as an artist, I have Megaphone Woman, and I put out stuff, and it's very small. I've got not very many followers, but it's a really instantaneous, I draw, I get it out there. And I think that in terms of Instagram giving an it works for big galleries, but it also works for the individual artist to build up a following, and also to have, I think a lot of us now, artists now, we need some feedback. It's really hard just doing what we're doing on our own. And I mean, thank goodness we have Instagram or Zoom or whatever it is, so that we can participate in other things, because otherwise right now you feel like you're the tree in the wood that isn't going to be heard. I hope that helps. Kaya, did you want to say anything about Sarah and how important it was for us actually that she had the amazing Instagram following that she did?
Yeah, I think it's. I think Instagram is incredibly important kind of shift in how we consume art. I think we're really interested in kind of creating democratic spaces, and I think it's a really important tool in doing so. Sarah Shaquille is totally born out of Instagram, really. She built her following entirely on Instagram, and she's gone on to be, to do so many interesting collaborations. And it gives a voice to people who would not normally have had a platform. I think, however, there are some interesting trends. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's just really interesting to observe how people come into spaces to be photographed in front of art. And that's become one of the experiences that people take away, is the photograph that they then put on Instagram. So I'm sure we could go on for a while on that, but yeah, it's a kind of the Instagram influencers, and that whole movement is quite interesting to observe. Right, I've got another question from the Norfolk family, just asking, are the numbers random or patterned in some way?
That's a very good question. No, they're absolutely incredibly specific. I mean, everything that Emmanuelle does is very specific. So the numbers, they start at 2000 and they go up to, is it 2040, Ella? I can never remember what they go up to. Ella, can you let me know? Ooh.
So they go from 2000 to 2119, so encompasses past, present and future.
So there's a white bit at the beginning, which is the past, and then there's a sort of gap, and then the colours go up. And you literally, it's not like they're sort of the numbers are random. They literally go 20, and then 2001, and then 2002, and they literally continue. So the numbers are completely specific. Yeah, no, it's as she would want it to be. The kind of purity of it, and also the purity of the idea that it literally was, it was about, what does the future hold? Let's just look at those numbers going out there into the next century.
Okay, we're going to try and get in a few more questions. So just quickly, just how do we choose the artists that we work with? From Gabriel Fung, if I just summarize his question.
So because there are different exhibitions, so it depends. I think that, for instance, for the fashion exhibitions, I go out to people who really know about fashion. I mean, I talk to people who know their stuff. Sonnet, I've talked to before, who's at the V&A. There's Sarah Moa, who is an amazing writer about fashion. I talk to people who really know their stuff, and then just kind of have a look at them. And it's what's important for us when we get people to present is that we have three very different designers who are doing very different things. So we're not comparing kind of pairs and pairs. We're comparing bananas with a tractor, so that they're very, very different. So that's one thing that we do, is to look out for people who are doing different things. How we do it, again, and I think that Instagram is an amazing resource. With design as well, I talk to Alice Rawthorne, who's an amazing journalist of design too. I just think you have to look. You have to go to exhibitions. I think that we're always on the prowl, and we spend a lot of time, all the time. Obviously, we're on the, right now we're just heading off to exhibitions all the time. Yeah, that's an important part of what we I think that just sort of having a sense of also what's coming up and what could be new and what could be now. I think we are about the now, so it's looking at the really contemporary. So with fashion, we go to fashion shows and we have a look at stuff and we go, how can this fashion designer, how can they would they convert their fashion into an installation? Because it's not every fashion designer. Some fashion designers are just brilliant at doing garments, but they couldn't necessarily kind of design something for an exhibition space. So I think that's how we do it. Kai, do you want to add to that? Because do you find?
No, I think that's totally right. What you've just mentioned. And I wanted to get into, we've got some really interesting questions about the climate we're in. I wonder if we've got time for about 3 more questions, do you think?
That's good, if everybody's happy with that.
Okay.
So as Magda said earlier, it's not like anybody's going anywhere.
So Gwen van de Boot has said, what is leading and key in the curatorial lineup of Now Gallery? So maybe if you could just quickly...
Sorry, can you repeat that?
What is leading or key in the curatorial lineup of Now Gallery?
Does that mean in the future? Is that
maybe thematically, perhaps? What is leading and key?
I think that what we found is the whole way of looking at interactivity is interesting. That's a really good way of making people think a little bit more about not just putting their stuff into the gallery space, but kind of connecting with people who are coming in. Sorry, that's making a pinging noise. That's a kind of way of I have completely forgotten what I was saying. Kaya, can you remind me? I forgot what I was saying.
So what is leading or key in the curatorial lineup? I think you kind of answered it in the previous question anyway. What are focus?
I think it's Kaya, it's what we're looking at all the time. Kaya, Magda and Ella and I are always having a dialogue about what we think is going to be interesting. So I think what we will find is the things that we thought were going to be interesting. In December, we're at the moment we're talking to fashion designers about the fashion exhibition. I think we thought that something might be relevant for December, but actually maybe we have to scrap all of that. I think we are constantly looking at what's important right now.
Okay, and then Rebecca Newnham has said, hi Jemima, what do you think about the static nature of Slice's installation as opposed to immersive and digital?
Rebecca, that's interesting, because what I thought when I put it in, it wasn't particularly sort of interactive, and it was very static. And that's why we decided to do, it wasn't Emmanuelle, I think probably would prefer in a way not to have the round things on the window, because it's probably not her aesthetic. But I think that she really understood that we're a community space. We're about local art, and we want to have things that kind of include people in them. So although it was static, we literally had I wish I had a time lapse of how many things went on the window, and we had to take them down again, and then more came up. So in that respect, it wasn't static at all. I think also, I'm not sure what your question is, but if it's about Instagrammable, as in it is a totally Instagrammable, not bonkers piece, Rebecca. I mean, it's like people come in and they want to be with the 2001 bit, or they want to be only with yellow. I mean, we had people coming in dressed in yellow to be with the yellow bit of the exhibition, or they dressed in, someone did a change, didn't they, in the bathroom, and got into another outfit, to do another photograph. So yeah, I think it was quite interactive, but I get what you mean about the static. I was nervous about that.
And I think the exhibition kind of reveals itself in different ways as you walk around it, and as the light moves, because we are totally kind of enveloped in glass, and you walk around and the light affects exhibitions in different ways. So it's definitely very beautiful. One question here, very interesting. A general question from Maureen Cardbow about the current climate that we're in, and how will exhibitions and curation be affected by post-COVID-19?
God, I mean, I wish I knew. I mean, I think, I'm looking at having a gallery without public. I mean, how does that work? I mean, I don't know. I really am totally struck by what we're dealing with for everybody I mean, it's dire for everybody is affected, but in terms of someone whose job, livelihood and love is curating this gallery space, I don't know what the future holds. I mean, I think that Kaya, Ella and Magda and I have absolutely made it an absolute, the most important thing, that we're going to get the gallery digital, that we're going to get the exhibition out there as as quickly and as vitally as we possibly can. And I think that also we're doing at the moment, we've got Kinska and who else is doing it, Manjit, Thap are doing wonderful stuff for kids, so that you can download those in this, my kids are bored out of their brains, so stuff to do is on the website. We've got, we're going to do a talk like this every other Tuesday to connect with people and make sure that stuff is happening. So in one way, what this has done is made us think, in an outside the box, and try and work out, ways of getting art out to people, because we are about getting art out, our art. We want people to come to Greenwich Peninsula and experience it, but we also want our art out there for people to enjoy. So we're working on that all the time, how we can do that. So I'm trying not to get too depressed about it.
And Davy, or Davy, sorry if I've mispronounced that, has added that the Tate Modern are doing virtual exhibitions. So thanks for that. Christopher Bradley has asked, are there any exhibiting artists that we've turned down and wish we hadn't?
No.
Okay. Great. So that's it from me for questions. Thanks everybody for interacting with us. I'm going to mute myself now and just hand back to Jemima. Bye.
Well, all I can say is thank you so much for coming and taking part in this evening. And basically, if it wasn't for you, we wouldn't be doing it. So we really appreciate it. And I hope you have a chance to visit the website and see some of the other stuff that we're doing. And as I said, in 2 weeks' time, Kaya will be on the podium, and we're really looking forward to her doing a talk then. So keep your eyes peeled for that, and have a good evening. Stay safe and be well. Thanks very much.